Welcome to the Flora podcast, a place where we help you create a life you're excited about. Welcome back to the podcast. Today we are going to talk about one of the ways to clear emotional clutter. If you're new to my channel and my podcast, welcome. I'm Flora Sage. For over 25 years, I've been helping people like you align into a life or a business that you are wildly obsessed with by helping you clear the 9 types of clutter, keeping you from a life that you love. What are those 9 types of clutter? They are mental, spiritual, emotional, digital, financial, daily, body, process, and environmental clutter. So as I mentioned, today we are going to talk about one of the ways to clear emotional clutter. Now, recently, after one of my podcast episodes, I was speaking with my youngest son, Chase, about it, and he had listened to it, and he's like, oh my gosh, this was such a good podcast, and we were talking about all kinds of things, but one of the things that he brought up was the story of the donkey and the well, and how that situation can bring up such emotional stuff for people, and how emotional clutter can really literally and metaphorically bury someone so much so that they feel like they don't have any options. So I want to share that story with you if you're unfamiliar with it, and then kind of riff about it from there. So there's a story of this farmer who had a donkey, and the donkey had fallen into a dried up well. And the farmer was like, dang it, I don't have a hoist to get the donkey up, so I might as well just bury the donkey. So the farmer starts to get all this dirt, and he throws it in the well, one shovel at a time, and he's working, and he's just, oh my gosh, okay, I'm gonna bury this donkey. You know, he's old, it's fine, whatever. And he looks down to see how far the donkey is buried. And the interesting thing was that when the farmer threw a shovel of dirt on the donkey, it would go on the donkey's back, and the donkey would shake it off and step on it. And so the donkey was now about a foot closer to the surface than it was when the farmer started. And he's like, oh my gosh, what? So he was kind of excited about this, and so he got back to work and started to continue to fill the hole, and every time he threw dirt on the donkey's back, the donkey would shake it off, step on it, and get closer and closer to the top, when finally, after a couple of hours, the donkey finally was able to step out of the hole. This story is filled with metaphors and is filled with ways to shift the way that we look at things. First of all, when the donkey fell in the dried up well, oftentimes that's how we feel sometimes when we're navigating through life and a plot twist happens. We're like, oh shit, like I did not see that coming. And you feel like you have no options. You feel like you're stuck in a hole and there's no way out. So we're going to stay with the donkey's perspective, okay? Now this donkey is going, oh my God, like I'm in this plot twist in my life. I don't have any options. What's going on? And starts to freak out. Well, then all of a sudden, dirt comes flying in at the donkey and is on his back. And the donkey's like, oh my gosh, this dirt is really uncomfortable. Let me shake it off. And the dirt keeps coming. He keeps shaking it off. And all of a sudden he realized, wow, it's like up to my ankles. Well, I don't like this feeling. So I'm just going to go ahead and stomp the dirt down so that I don't get dirt, up to my knees or up to my belly. And all of a sudden he's like, oh, wow, this feels really good. And then he looks up, oh my gosh, wow, I'm getting closer to the surface. This is kind of exciting. I'm so excited that some random stranger is helping me get out of this hole. Well, all of a sudden, he sees the farmer's head pop over. Oh my gosh, that's my friend, the farmer. He's helping me out. Wow, this is really exciting. I'm sitting here in this hole, struggling to get out, feeling overwhelmed, feeling like I don't have any options. And all of a sudden, I do get help from someone who I know that I didn't even ask for it. All of a sudden, he's giving me help. Yay, this is exciting. And before you know it, he's at the top. He's like, wow, this is amazing. He does his little bellow at the farmer and just kind of trots away. Very good. Think of how many times you have been in a rut or in a hole or in a plot twist in your life where something happened and you feel like that you have no options and you feel like life is overwhelming, there's no place else to go, what's going on? And all of a sudden somebody throws you a little piece of advice or they share a story with you, and all of a sudden your mindset shifts, your mindset changes. And because your mindset changed just a little bit from this random piece of dirt that they threw at you, you felt better, you changed your mind. So just like the donkey was in the hole and this dirt was flying at them, they're like, at first, I don't like this. This sucks. I'm in a hole. Now somebody's throwing dirt. This feels heavy. I'm shaking it off my back. Now it's up to my ankles. Now I'm going to step on it. Oh, wow. I'm getting closer to the surface. Notice how their mindset changed and shift from I have no options to, hey, wait a minute. I'm getting closer to a solution here. I'm getting closer to a solution. And then what that does, that mindset shift all of a sudden makes it possible for the donkey to continue shaking off the stuff that's happening and using it to get one step closer to an out, to the exit of that hole. Now let's shift perspectives to the farmer. The farmer is like, oh my gosh, one of my old donkeys fell into a dry well. I don't have any options. So the only option that the farmer thought he had was to get a hoist to pull the donkey up from that dry well. So he's like, well, I don't have any options. So the only option that I have, or I don't have any resources, I should say, as far as the hoist. So therefore, my only option is to cover the donkey and just bury it alive. I don't want to do that, but that's the only option that I see. So notice the farmer has an either or thinking. It's because I don't have this resource of a hoist, then the only option I have is to bury the donkey. So he takes the dirt, shoves it in, and then looks, realizes that the donkey is shaking it off his back, using it as literally leverage to pull him up or to lift him up. All of a sudden, now the farmer's like, oh my gosh, this is exciting. Now the farmer gets excited because now he's going to be able to save the donkey and fill in that old well at the same time. So he's basically killing two birds with one stone, no pun intended. But think about the shift that happens for both the farmer and the donkey, where they thought they didn't have resources. They thought that they didn't have any options. And by working with what they had, they accomplished three things actually. One, filling in the dry well, and two, getting the donkey out of the hole, and the donkey realizing, yay, I'm alive another day. You know what I mean? Now, why did this happen? Because they took action. Because the farmer took action. He's like, he could have just walked away and left the donkey in the well, and the donkey would have, died a miserable death. But the farmer was like, well, I don't have this resource. So the only option, thank goodness he didn't realize that he had a second option of just walking away. But he took action. I'm going to cover the donkey up. And by taking that tiny bit of action, even though he felt overwhelmed and he felt sad, he's like, oh my gosh, I'm overwhelmed because my donkey is in this hole. I feel sad, all these emotional things. But you know what? I'm going to take the only action that I know to take, and that's to put the dirt in the hole. The donkey shifting his mindset. I don't like this dirt that's on my back. I'm already in this hole. I don't like the dirt, the bullshit, the crap that's happening. So I'm going to shake it off. How do you shake it off? You can dance. It's one of the ways to clear emotional clutter is to dance. That's one of the ways to clear emotional clutter is to move the physical body. I've talked about somatic shaking in some of my classes before. I'm not sure if I talked about it here on the podcast, but somatic shaking is literally stomping your feet, moving your body, doing that spirit dancing type energy where you just let the music move your physical body. That helps to clear some of that emotional stuff. Well, what happens even with just 2 minutes of it, you start to shift emotionally. You start to clear. With that donkey, all the dirt going on its back, he shook it off, stomped his feet, and was like, okay, I'm a couple inches higher. This is exciting. Oh my gosh. And that's what happens when we have emotional clutter. Typically what we do is we get still. We don't move. We don't take action. And both the farmer and the donkey took action. They took the only actions that they knew to take instead of just staying still. It's very easy for us when we get emotional to just close off. It's very, very easy. But when you allow yourself to recognize, hang on, what is this situation that I'm in? And allow yourself to get calm. What happens is the calmer you are, the clearer that you think. And the clearer that you think, the more you will move with strategy instead of emotion. Now, yes, the farmer moved with emotion because he was filled with it. But sometimes people get into that freeze mode when they have a lot of emotion. The donkey was calm. He had no choice but to be. He's like, I don't have arms and legs. I can't climb out of this. Ugh. I'm just going to sit here. Sometimes that's what we feel like when we have emotional things happen in our life. We feel like we have this big plot twist. And we feel like we don't have any options. He didn't. The donkey had no options but to just stand there. And when the farmer started to throw that dirt, what does he do? I don't like how this feels. It's getting heavier and heavier. I'm sure you've been that way emotionally sometimes in your life. This is getting heavy. This doesn't feel good. Okay, shake that shit off. Move it. Notice what feels heavy and clear it. Shake it off. Do that somatic shaking. Do some breath work. But allow yourself to take just a little bit of action or a lot of action, whatever you're guided to do. But allowing yourself to recognize that sometimes you are the donkey where it feels like you have no options whatsoever and shit just keeps piling on you. Know that shit is fertilizer for the future. I used to live in Wisconsin. Every fall and spring, they would spray manure on the fields, and it was so bad. It was so gross. But the next year, like the next crop, they would have a bumper crop. It was amazing to see it. You're either the donkey in the hole, feeling like shit just keeps getting deep, or you're the farmer with the either or thinking. And you're just like, oh, this plot twist happened. My donkey's in a hole. My ass is in a hole. Just kidding. Now what should I do? And if you think there's either this or this, like we don't have this resource, so therefore my only action is to do this, give yourself permission to get into a calmer space and say, what is the situation? Is this true? And allow yourself to look at, what are my resources? What are all of my options? And again, the calmer that you are, the more clear that you think. And the more clear that you think, the more you will move with strategy instead of emotion. Now, sometimes, again, those emotions might move you to action, but the key is to just take action. Don't allow yourself to be stuck in this rut for a very long time, okay? Allow yourself to use this feeling of being stuck, like you're the donkey in the well. Allow yourself to use that for respite, just for a moment. Use that time to just be in that space of emotion. So whatever emotional thing just happened, give yourself permission to just assess the situation. Say, okay, all right, I'm in this situation. This is a plot twist that happened in my life. I'm in this hole. Just make peace with it for just a moment, whether it's 5 minutes, an hour, or a day. Allow yourself to get clear about what are my options here? What are my resources? How am I resourced here? Who do I know that has already done this? What resources do I personally have? What resources does my network have? Does my network of friends, colleagues, acquaintances, family? What is that? What resources are available to me? And with those resources, what options do I now have? You're going to be so surprised, delighted, and amazed at how much you have at the ready. And that's one of the things that my son and I were talking about, is so many people feel so disconnected because they don't stop and take time to recognize how resourced you really are. So today, give yourself permission to think about a situation that you're in where you feel like you're kind of stuck. And grab your journal, write it out. This is where I'm feeling stuck, boom. And then reflect, where am I resourced? What resources do I have that might solve this problem? Who do I know that may have already been in this situation and solved it or gotten out of it? What opportunities is this providing me? And really give yourself permission to look at your situation in a different way, from that calmer space. And I guarantee you, the calmer that you get, the more clear you're going to be thinking. And the more clear that you're thinking, the more that you're going to begin moving with strategy. And the more that you're going to be able to recognize how many resources you have at the ready and what the opportunities are in this moment. I love you. I hope this serves you today, and I will see you in the next episode. Thank you for listening to today's podcast episode. All links mentioned are in today's show notes.